Morning. Hello and welcome to today's Back to Basics show. I am Rico Burton and I am a volunteer with AARP Arizona. Now, AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence and nearly 38 million members across the nation and approximately 900,000 members here in Arizona, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to families: health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. Now, during the month of April, we have been focusing on fraud prevention by providing specific tools and information to help consumers with knowledge and tools to spot and avoid scams. AARP is a wise friend and fierce defender of consumers. The Fraud Watch Network is here providing free resources that will help you spot scams, get guidance from fraud specialists, and help you feel more secure, knowing that we advocate at the federal, state, and local levels to protect consumers and enforce the law. Now, here in April, we're going to focus on how con artists operate and what you can do to protect yourself. So you can get some of those resources, and you'll see that information on the screen below. I am excited for today's program because we are going to talk about chronic back pain and what we can do about it. And as always, we have Coach SheriAnne with us. Hi there, Coach SheriAnne. How are you?
Good morning, Lady B. I am great. How are you?
Oh, I won't complain. My back hurts. What you got for me?
Interestingly enough, it is it is the most common medical problem. You can hear people talk about their back a lot, or they're getting up from sitting and it's like, oh, my back, or I'm getting too old, my back. It's probably the most common phrase of like, oh,
Well, what I know to be true is it really doesn't matter about age. I
no.
know a young gal and she's in her 30s and she has chronic back problems. So whether you're tall or short or heavy or thin, it really, really matters not. Back pain, you're right, is a chronic problem. Tell us more.
Well, it can actually be acute or chronic. And so we'll kind of break that down a little bit. So an acute back issue is usually from a fall, a car accident, something that is a sudden onset and will last probably a few days to a few weeks. And usually in that situation, you're actually under a doctor's care because something has happened. Then there's the subacute, which can last, anywhere from a few weeks to 12 weeks. But then when it's longer than 12 weeks, that's when they consider it to be chronic back pain. So, and most people have chronic because acute comes and goes. But the thing also is when someone has an acute back problem and back pain, then they're very hypersensitive about their back, very, very hypersensitive. And so we have to retrain the brain. So if you've suffered from an acute situation with your back, it's really important. And we'll cover this actually a little later in the show, but I'll give you some stretches to do just to help retrain the brain so that it's not so locked up. Because our brain, we have these signals that once something happens, we want to protect it very closely. But yes, I see that people are tuning in and letting us know where you're tuning in from. Please do. I love to see and hear where people are tuning in from. And if you have any questions as we're going through all of this, be sure to put those in the comment section and we can cover them during the show. And if not, I always circle back around and answer them after the fact. So
thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
All right. So then tell us more about back pain. How do we get it? Where does it come from some particular place?
Well, it can be all kinds of things. So one of the things that we should do is we should talk about the anatomy of the back so that you can understand, what's going on. So your spine has a lot of vertebrae in it. So you have 7 cervical, so that's up in the top. Then you have 12 thoracic, which is the trunk of the body. And then you have 5 lumbar. And then you have your sacrum and tailbone, so to speak, your coccyx. So that's all of the vertebrae in your spine. And then we have the vertebrae is the bones. And then we have the spinal cord, which is it's a bundle of nerves that run up through the hole in your vertebrae as they're stacked on top of each other. In between the vertebra, we have intervertebral discs, which are kind of like shock absorbers and spacers in between the bones. And then we have tendons, which are connective tissue that connect the muscle to the bone, because you have muscles all throughout your back. And then we have ligaments, which are connecting bone to bone. So, and then we have muscles, which are dynamic fibers to help move your body, and that's what really moves you, is your muscles. So it's, understanding the anatomy is kind of helpful, because then we can dive into, if you sprain your back. So a sprain is a ligament injury, which is, usually happens from twisting or lifting. And then a strain is an injury to the muscle. So sprain and strain really kind of confuse people sometimes. And so sprains, when it's ligaments, those take a long time to heal, because ligaments and tendons are connective tissue. So the blood flow to them isn't as much as muscles. So, but if you strain it, where you're straining the muscle or a tendon, which is so tendons are connective tissue to connect muscle to bone. So that usually actually can heal a little faster, because there's a much more blood flow to that. And so it's just, there's so much that goes into when you hurt your back, because you don't know if it's bone or if it's muscular. And so it just depends on what has happened. So treatments are going to vary dramatically based on cause and what your symptoms are. And so with that being said, I do want to emphasize that if you are having back pain and it is chronic for you, or even if you had something that just happened recently, you want to go see a doctor if you have certain things going on. And that is, if you're having intense pain as you lay down, that's a big deal. Or if you can't sleep at night, if it's keeping you up at night, that's a really important issue. And if it's radiating down the back of your gluteus maximus, down your glutes into your leg, if it's radiating or tingling, or you have weakness, that's definitely a situation where you're going to want to be under medical care. That's really, really important. So, and it could be going down one leg or both legs. And so if that's going on, you definitely want to go see someone. Another case that you might want to go see a doctor is if you're having chronic pain in your lower back, because that's where your kidneys are. So if you, like, in the muscle, where it feels like it's in the muscle and not a joint related situation. So, because kidney stones or kidney infections can present themselves as low back pain. So if it's chronic, that's definitely a situation where you're going to want to go have that looked at.
Is there an easy way to tell whether or not it is muscular or joint?
There really isn't. The one way you can do it is if you have someone to help you move. So if you can go through a passive range of motion, passive meaning you're not engaging your muscles, but there is pain, that means it's going to be bone related. But if you're having a hard time moving through it, so an active range of motion, it could be muscles, but it also could be, so usually if it's a bone issue, people usually know that because they've either fallen pretty hard, or they've been in an accident of some sort. That's usually when you're going to have a bone issue. So usually most of the time it's muscles. It's just tight muscles, just twisting wrong, picking something up and not engaging our core appropriately. So like the young woman that you're talking about, that's 30, her chronic, did she have like a quick hard onset of something that she did and it just lasted?
I don't remember what the onset of it was. I just know that she wasn't in a car accident or anything like that, but whatever it was, just sitting. I think sitting a lot was the beginning of it for her. I know I have another friend who's got some chronic pain going on, or maybe it's acute, and she's got the pain radiating down her legs and the rest. And we were supposed to go to the theater together the other day to see Hadestown, and she couldn't go because of her back pain. She says, I have to get up and move. So it's really, and the thing that's so interesting too about back pain is you can't see it. So when somebody tells you that they're really in pain, you're like, really? How hurt are you? Because it's not like there's some big, scar on your face or something that can really detail it for you. And so I don't know that people always, we don't empathize enough, I don't think, with people who say they have back pain.
Well, and if you have a bulging disc, like So let's see, we're in 22. So in 2015, I actually herniated a disc in my lower back, and it was doing some jumping exercises, and it was just like a fluke situation. I mean, I'm super fit. I couldn't believe it happened. And I was dealing with radiating pain down my leg. And they were checking nerves and everything. And I didn't really fully on herniate it, but I swelled the disc enough that it was pinching the nerves, and there's not a lot of blood flow to those discs. There's none. So it's like sometimes things can resolve themselves on their own, but I had to go get an MRI, and they figured out, I had two discs that were slightly bulging. And so then I had to go in, and they decided the first thing that it would do is do a cortisone shot into the disc to see if it would shrink it. And they're like, it may be permanent and maybe not permanent to fix it. Well, so I had that done, and then I've never had any back pain since then. So I was really lucky because
those things don't mask. I was thinking about, some of those people that do get things, the shots and the rest. It's not masking the pain. It's really helping to shrink something so that you actually feel better.
Yes. So sometimes it can be a mask, but cortisone it's an anti-inflammatory. So it can serve as a mask in the sense of like taking, an ibuprofen or something, but it's injected straight into the situation. But it also just uninflamed the disc, and the disc never re-inflamed. And so I was very lucky because that's not usually the case with most people, but I'm also very healthy and take very good care of myself. So mine was definitely an acute situation and was resolved within just a few weeks by getting some medical care because I needed it. Because I was a few months away from doing a very large race down in Patagonia in Chile. And I was like, I cannot miss this race.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I was very lucky. But yeah, that's another thing is like people can, if they're not fit and they don't have a strong core and they use their back to do something, herniating a disc actually is more common than not. And sometimes it requires surgery, and sometimes you can take care of it with a cortisone shot. It just really depends on each person. And also each person's level of pain tolerance is so different. So there's so many variables that go into dealing with pain, and pain anywhere in your body really is such a challenging thing because we don't cope well when we're in pain. Like nobody does. Like things suffer.
I want to welcome Carrie from Pennsylvania, and who else do we have here? Jane from Scottsdale, and Susan. Just thank you all so much for being with us. We see your questions, and I'm going to ask. Jane asks us, is surgery the only way to permanently eliminate chronic back pain?
That's a really hard question to answer because chronic back pain could be from a host of things. And so sometimes it does require surgery and sometimes it doesn't. Like my brother-in-law, he had to have back surgery because he was constantly having it to where he couldn't feel his feet. Like he was having that bad nerve pain. Some people have to get fusion done in their back. So that's a really hard question to answer because it's so there's so many causes and symptoms.
Wow. Well, thanks for not telling me anything. It's hard to answer.
I mean, it's like there's no easy answer for chronic back pain. A lot of it just depends on how chronic is it, what caused it originally, have you done, but I will say that try everything you can prior to surgery, prior to getting cut open, because the last thing you want to do is get cut open and having your spine fused.
Right.
And so
certainly learning how to lift things. You talked about doing things wrong when we lift up a box or something. As a taller person, I know it can be hard. And my daughter tells me all the time, Mom, bend at your knees and the rest. I'm like, honey, if I bend down, I can't get up. So, what am I going to do? It's one or the other. And so learning some of those preventive kind of things, I think really is going to be important. And I know you're going to share some of that with us too. We have another question that asks, will a cortisone shot help if your lower back pain is from arthritis?
Sometimes it can. I mean, because arthritis is inflammation in the joints. And so it could, but in that situation, that's going to mask it. Because like for me, it didn't mask it. It actually cured it because it was an acute situation. Whereas arthritis is a chronic condition. So with chronic conditions, cortisone most likely will be a mask, and it'll just buy you some time, so to speak. And then if you're not doing things to eliminate the arthritis, then it's just going to come right back. And sometimes arthritis can be directly related to your diet. So that's it. So that's another really challenging one to answer. And so it's just varies so much. And so going back to kind of what you were saying also about picking things up, for tall people and whatnot, if you watch, I know babies aren't tall. They're like 2 feet off the ground. But if you watch a toddler go and pick something up or go play, they always squat and they put their butt to their heels. Like, it's just, they have perfect mechanics as far as like squatting and standing up and picking things up. And so that's how we want to do it, even as adults, is fully on squat, use the legs, don't brace the back, because when you brace the back is when things kind of go out of whack.
I don't know, SheriAnne, that is so unattractive, going down like that and trying to get up. Ooh, no, honey.
But it's effective.
So then we have to make a choice. Do we want to be cute, or do we want things? Yes, because that could be a tough one. All right. Someone also asks here, what are your thoughts on seeing a chiropractor for chronic back pain?
There can be a lot of benefit to that. They can create a lot of, they can alleviate. So I had sciatica issues early on in my running career. And it was because my hips were out of place, which is, your sacrum and your coccyx. So my hips would be out of place, and that would cause a lot of pain for me in my lower back and legs. And so once I retrained the muscles to hold the bones in place, then I didn't have to go see the chiropractor anymore. So a chiropractor can be a really good benefit to realigning your spine and not causing pain in your back. But you want to take care and ask your chiropractor also to give you exercises to strengthen those muscles around that area in your back, so that you're not continuing to go there with a chronic issue.
Wow. Joan asks, and I know the answer to this, but I'm just, playing the ostrich here. Could weight be a factor? Thanks a lot for bringing that up, Joan.
Yes. Weight can definitely be a factor. Your fitness level is a huge part of it. If you're not a very active person and then you go to do something physical and physically demanding on your body, or go to pick something up or move something a little weird, if you're not physically fit, or if you're overweight, then yes. If your core isn't, stable, then yes. Weight gain is definitely an issue. Job-related factors can do it. As we age, we don't tend to work out as much. So yes, but there can be all kinds of things that cause back pain too, like osteoporosis. As we age as women, our bone density gets less. And so that can cause bone issues, which is going to be back pain. Any kind of inflammatory condition that you might have, it's going to find a weak point. And most people's backs are weak because we don't utilize them enough. And like I said earlier, kidney issues can cause back pain, endometriosis for women, that can cause back pain, fibromyalgia. So there's all kinds of things that can cause back pain.
Right. And what I know to be true, and perhaps she wasn't on earlier, is there are a lot of people who are very thin who have back problems as well. So weight, whether it be a higher weight or a lower weight, I think sometimes can affect it and influence it. So we have to, to be mindful of that as well.
Right.
Here's a question going back to the arthritis as it relates to back pain, I suppose. And she asked, what dietary restrictions or recommendations do you have for arthritis and degenerative changes?
Wow, that's kind of a loaded question. So, Anne, I will give you a few things right now, but I'll circle back around onto the Facebook page and type in some things there for you. But dietary recommendations, a great ingredient that you can have in your kitchen and throw into your meals is turmeric. Turmeric is a natural anti-inflammatory. So much so that I had a friend that was during cancer treatments would put turmeric powder in like a tiny shot of water and shoot it, like a little shooter, just to get as much turmeric in their body. And so turmeric is a great anti-inflammatory that will help.
Can you take it in pill form too? Is it just as effective?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're taking it in pill form, the only thing I would recommend is make sure that however it's encased is, soluble in the sense of you're going to be able to digest it so you can benefit from the turmeric. I mean, the best way to take it is, just like I said, a little shooter, or sprinkle it on some food. It does have a unique taste to it. So some people don't like the taste of it. So you'll just have to kind of try it out. But that's a great way to help with arthritis and degenerative
I was
diseases.
going to
But
say,
I'll circle back around, Anne, and put some more things on the Facebook page for that.
thank you. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Yeah, I was going to say unique taste, unique good or not so good.
It's kind of earthy.
Mm. You're being so polite. Thank you. Earthy's a word.
It kind of is earthy. Like, that's the best way I can explain it. But I like things like that. Like, that doesn't bother me. My kids now, on the other hand, are like, what is this? So it gets mixed in, blended in with some other spices to kind of mask it. But yeah, if you just do it by itself, it's a little earthy.
You know, there are some other changes that can happen in our bodies. You mentioned several, but I know for women who carry their purses wrong or carry heavy purses, that can also influence back pain. Some people who are well endowed, and they can have back pain. And so I look at women who get the surgeries, and want whatever, then that can be problematic for people later. Can you tell us a little about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's all kinds of posture things. I mean, there's so much information out there. And so, and I'll dive into showing 3 stretches just to help here with the back pretty soon. But the biggest thing is we have these wonderful little, mini computers that we carry around. But if you watch people, this is them. I'm over exaggerating a little bit, but like, this is them. They're just like totally hunched over, shoulders forward, looking at their phone, head down. Or if you're working at a computer, or like you said, if you're well endowed, like so many people their shoulders are rolling forward. So some people can have a lot of upper back pain just from sheer like poor posture. If you're sitting at a desk and you're not sitting upright with your feet flat on the ground, with your knees bent at 90 degrees, that's the best way to sit to support your lower back in the best way possible. So many people get this weird low, like, curve in their lower back because their posture is poor when they're sitting. When you're sitting on your couch tonight, like, pay attention to how you're sitting on your couch. And if you're sitting on your couch in the evening for hours and you have poor posture on the couch, that's why when people get up off the couch, they're like, oh, my back. Because their posture is so poor sitting down. When we go to stand, it's like, oh, wait a minute, we're supposed to be straight now, So it's really paying attention to your posture. If you're carrying a heavy purse, evaluate what's in your purse.
Right.
It doesn't all need to be in there.
Hello.
And if you have children that are going to school, make sure they're wearing their backpack on both shoulders, not just one. Because if they're doing it just on one, they're going to have chronic issues. So both on their, and like my high schoolers, I'm like, use your locker. Like, why are you carrying around this 50-pound backpack? It's ridiculous. So yeah, if you're carrying stuff around, make sure that you're maintaining posture and really evaluate why you're carrying stuff that's so heavy.
Now, mentioning that, I was talking to my sister not long ago, and she's had some pain here and there, like we all do. And when I was at her home and the way that she was sitting, I said, the way you're sitting, I think is part of the reason that you're in pain. She was slumped over and kind of to the side. And she said, this position is comfortable to me. So now my question, and what I said to her, and I could be wrong, is you may have to weather a little bit of the pain, sit straight. And, that's going to eventually help you more. You may have to just work through some of that pain, but slouching or turning kind of sideways or whatever to try to feel better in that pain, I don't know if that's a good idea. What are your thoughts?
No. So she's definitely compensating. And so that's why when someone's sitting there with poor posture and they're shifting and they're leaning, it's because they're compensating because their muscles aren't strong enough to support them the way that we're designed to be supported. And so, yeah, she's just going to continue to perpetuate that and not make it better. So yeah, you do have to kind of work through the discomfort a little bit until you train your body. I mean, there was a period of time where my kids their posture sitting. I was like, you guys are killing me. Like, you got to sit up. Like, it's uncomfortable to sit up straight. And I'm like, well, only because your muscles aren't used to it. But if you think about how you're standing, if you just go to a sitting position, that's still how your spine should be, So if you're doing anything other than that, like, then you're compensating and the muscles are not, so muscles have the ability to shorten which is contract, and then lengthen. And when you're in pain, what happens is they're short and they stay short. So that's why I'm going to show you some stretches to help lengthen them, because when you're in pain with a muscle, it's because the muscle is staying short and it won't lengthen out. But we want long, lean muscles.
Yes, we want long, lean, healthy muscles.
Yes.
I have seen little Asian children, sometimes it was in China that I saw it, have a stick behind both of their arms, and it was keeping their shoulders back and down so that their posture would stay up.
Oh yeah, so they're sitting back with their shoulders back and down. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one is a cat-cow, and so I'm sure you've all heard of this yoga pose. So what you're going to do is you're going to act like a cat. You're going to curl your back up, and you're going to really stretch that lower back. And you want to hold these stretches for 10 to 30 seconds. And then after the cat, you're going to just come down and arch it. And I don't know why they call it a cow, because I don't think cows do this, but it's called the cat-cow stretch. So another 10 to 30 seconds. And then you want to do this about 5 times. Like, so hold it up as a cat. This actually feels really good. And then a cow. So, and then the next one is you're going to do is your knee to chest. So if your flexibility isn't able to get your knee all the way here, like I can, grab behind your thigh and make sure your toes are pointed to the ceiling and pull it in as tight as you can. And if you need, you can even put a hand towel around your foot to help pull in if you're having issues with flexibility. Like if you can't, so you can start here and then slowly pull it in as far as you can, 30 seconds again, and then you're going to switch to the other one and do the same thing. So this is knee to chest. And then after you're here in this position, and this really just helps also lengthen out the leg that's straight, because you also, if you're having back issues, you're also having probably some core issues. Your core isn't strong enough. So from this position, now we do a twisting one. So, and I'm going to twist towards the camera. So with this leg up, try to keep your shoulders on the ground. Or if you need to, put your opposite hand to this knee, and you're going to pull this knee over and let it touch, but keep the this other shoulder back here down. And what it's going to do is it's going to really stretch out your back. This twist move is actually a really good one for people that have lower back tightness, because it will help really lengthen it out. So once again, you just grab this knee, you're going to pull it over, keep this shoulder on the ground. Sometimes you might hear a little popping, which is okay, because that is just air in the synovial fluid around the joints that's just releasing. So that's the twisting one. The next one you'll do is you're just going to sit on the ground cross-legged like this. And actually, if you want, you can pull one of your knees up in front of you. And same thing, you're just going to put pressure on this knee, and you're going to turn this way. And it's just going to help open up the back. It stretches here, and it stretches on the back side. So this is your sitting twisting one. So you have a lying twisting one and then a sitting twisting one. And if you don't want to put your leg up like that, you can leave your legs cross-legged and just turn your back like this. And really try to turn it as far as you can within reason. If it's uncomfortable a little bit, that's okay. Too much discomfort is not okay.
Should we hold in our abdomens while we're doing this?
Absolutely. You should always focus on keeping your abdominal to your belly button to your spine. And so there's 2 more that I will show you really quick, because I know we're almost out of time.
Okay.
So the cobra stretch. So you're going to lay on the ground and you're going to push. If you can only go to here because you don't have a lot of back flexibility, that's okay. If you can push up, you're going to go ahead and push up. And this will really help stretch your back as well. And so from cobra stretch, so if you just want to go elbows, that's fine. You have the flexibility to go up, you can. And then from here, you're just going to slide your bottom back and sit on your heels. And this is called child's pose. And you can put your hands out in front of you. And if you really want to get down low, you can separate your knees a little bit. And then you can put your hands behind you. And I know you've seen little children sit like this. But this is a great, great pose to really lengthen out the back. That one helps a lot. So I will put all of these stretches on the Facebook page. I'll go in and I'll type them all in for you all, and give you a brief description just so that you have them again. But yeah, those are 6 basic stretches just to help alleviate any kind of discomfort in the back and create long muscles so that we don't have short, tight, painful muscles.
Well, you have been so informative today. Thank you for showing us. The replay of this will be available too on our page. And so share this with others that you know that may be able to benefit from this. Please join us in May. We're going to be talking about healthy breakfasts on May 10th. And then on May 24th, we're going to talk about healthy lunches. And Coach SheriAnne's going to be back with us for that. Thank you so much for being with us. Have a wonderful day and God bless.
Thanks, Lady B.